and it shows the power of bringing citywide ANCs into one singular space to have these real honest conversations. So what Jillian asked me to do was to come up today and share, where'd it go? I don't know where I put it. Oh, here it is. Gentleman in the purple shirt, he talked about a universal resolution that ANCs could possibly entertain. While we didn't get that to that point by this meeting, DC for Reasonable Development, which is the organization I helped form, we did, using our principles, we did pull together some basic, fundamental, visionary policies that, if are in the plan, would allow other things to follow for our community. So, and this is something that's like a draft that everybody can use. It's open source. Any group can use it. You can pick and choose, and you can get it out to your ANCs. You can get it out to your civics. You can get it out to your neighborhood groups. Okay. I just want to make sure we're still in the meeting, so I just need folks to maybe bring the conversations out up top or in the back. Okay. Because we have folks still here listening to this part. So one of the key things I wanted to bring to you all today is this map. This was brought up by one of the ANC commissioners, I think Japer. This is the future land use map, right? This map right here, let me bring it over. That's the old one. This is the current map. It's not the old one, it's the current map. It was passed into law in 2006. It's been amended a couple times. What do you think the red means in terms of density?
High density.
It's all downtown. What do you think the bright yellow means?
Low density.
Low density. So from the red to yellow is kind of this set of parameters of how big and dense your neighborhood might go in the future, right? What the Office of Planning has done is taken this map now and listen to developers submit comments and say, well, we want this lot upzoned, right? And we want this lot upzoned, and we want this lot upzoned. There's a process right now that a developer could go through, and Commissioner Holcomb pointed this out, the chair of 7F. If this map is not upzoned, the developer has to go to the ANC and the zoning commission to say, hey, I want to upzone this property and build not what's allowed, let's say 4 stories. We want to build a 8-story building. We want to go twice as high as what's allowed on this map or on the zone map. So if this map limits you to low density, or, well, that's the high, so you don't have to get any variances. But if a developer wants to build something bigger in the yellow sections, they have to go to the community and get some okay about it. Hey, is this too big? Does it have enough amenities in it for you? Does it have commercial aspects of it that you like? They have to come to you to upzone. Let me just finish this point. So if this map is changed by Office of Planning, and the yellow goes to, let's say, a dark brown or a red, they no longer have to go to your community to get the okay to upzone. Okay? So this map really sets the community dialogue for you and your ANC. To set some needs and desires in these projects as they come up. So what do you think OP is doing to this map right now? If you were to look at this map right now, do you think it would be vastly different? Right, so all the lighter colors, they're trying to make them darker colors, right? Which means more density, that's all. And so you'll see some stripes in here too, that just is the difference between commercial and residential.
And institutional too.
And institutional is the blue and purple. But you can see how important therefore this map is in terms of a community dialogue. So what we have is on that where to go. If you go to dcgrassrootsplanning.org/maps, by award, you can see how OP is trying to upzone your neighborhood. And if they get away with it, then that developer doesn't have to go to your community. All they have to do is get building permits and build that 8-story building, where once you could only build a 4-story building.
Exactly.
Dig it? So it's air rights.
It's air rights.
It's the air rights value that the city is giving away.
Right.
So this is an important thing to look at. And I encourage everybody to look at it and get in touch with your ANC to say, hey, they're trying to upzone this. Why are we going to give this away for nothing when we could be asking a lot more? Okay, I saw, Beth, did you want?
You mostly answered the question. So it's a requirement to get, what is it, the CBA from the ANC if you want to get a variance in the zoning right now?
It's not a requirement, but the developers know, if we go to the zoning commission and if the developers haven't talked to the ANC before they go to the zoning commission, the zoning commission will be like, look, you gotta go talk to the ANC. And then the ANC will say, well, we have to set up a community benefits agreement. Some say it's like a payoff, but if the community benefit agreement says 30% of your units are gonna be affordable, okay, or the commercial space will be for Ward 8 businesses, or wherever it's located, then that's a community benefit agreement that's actually powerful. It's actually setting a future disposition of this site that benefits the community, right?
So upzoning just like entirely circumvents the involvement of the community?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Sir.
Sure. My name is Thomas Beach. I didn't say it before, but I am a nonprofit developer based out of Ward 7. And so what we pushed our ANCs to do is honestly upzone from higher density, but ask for a zoning that's still low density, but maybe going from residential to apartment or to flat. So you still keep it low density, but allow people to build more density in the same space so you don't change the look of the neighborhood. So that's one thing we asked our ANCs to look at. The other thing is we asked them to put in policy that increases the IZ. So right now it's only 10%, so we asked them to go up to 25%. We asked them to add job requirements. We have to hire from the neighborhood if you're getting federal or district money. So I'll ask you guys to think about those things. What if they're going to put some stuff in anyway, how can you benefit your community from a financial or for economic development standpoint?
Well, there's the difference between a nonprofit developer and these mega international real estate developers, right? Because you're actually thinking about the community. But we needed to get clarity. IZ
and job requirements?
and what requirements?
Job.
Job requirements?
Did you say job like J-O-B or J-O-T?
Job
Okay,
requirements.
okay.
So for the community, the people in the community affected actually get the jobs for the project.
And IZ.
And IZ is inclusionary zoning, which is this.
Lottery.
It's a program that a percentage of any of the new units have to be deemed affordable. But again, we fall back to this problem with the definition of affordable being 60% EMI and higher, which means for people making $65,000 plus a year. Okay, so when we ask for IZ, the reality is it's not really affordable for most people.
Right.
Okay?
And also the IZ affordability, like Union Market.
Oh,
We
Union
talked
Market.
about the Union Market, there was a PUD, and there was something once like 8% has to be affordable, and out of the 4% has to be 30. It ended up being something like 8 units.
Yeah.
Out of
Union
6,000?
Union Market, there were 20 planned unit developments, PUDs.
Right.
So 20 major
Creating
projects.
6,000 units.
6,000
Right.
units, and the Office of Planning brokered 10 affordable family size units. So
Right.
10 units that were 3+ bedrooms
Exactly.
at 60% AMI.
IZ is very questionable. But I wanted to speak to the flums. In my SMD, well, Commissioner North of me, 14th Street, where the Pan Am supermarket and the Exxon is. This is marked for upzoning. Okay, this can be, and there are commissioners on my commission who automatically said, oh, well, we're going to rubber stamp that. You know, we're having conversations on the email, and I was like, well, and so they included one of my advice. I said, well, being the commissioner whose SMD that falls in, I'd like to be part of that conversation, which allowed them, we're still talking about it. They're probably gonna go for, because the whole block's gonna be torn down, but they don't know anything about, like he's talking about air rights and land value recapture and those kinds of things.
Right.
And so back to what can you do as being folks from this community when you get involved and you even represent a different voice, a different way of like, wait, hold on a minute, we're not gonna, this, what about this? That's very, very necessary in the room, okay?
Yes, indeed.
And the last thing about community benefits agreements, I have a big project coming up in my SMD, and what they needed, the developers needed the land and the LDA, anyway, the Office of Planning in Denver to amend this land disposition agreement. They've been trying to develop this land for over 20 years, 9 administrations. And it's going to be a big project, but what I did was create language for the Office for DEMPED saying, conditionally, I support this project on these conditions, and the conditions were that the ANC and the community are involved in every step of the way. Meaning designs, meaning scope of work, meaning you don't make any decisions until it runs by. That's the one we did for Meridian Place.
Oh, right on.
And, you know, conditional resolutions is, you know, the power of the ANC can do.
We have another question on the map?
Hello.
Hi.
I think it was what, 8, and I live in 2200 block of Chester, 2200 block of Chester Street Southeast, which is not far, is down the street. So the way you say they develop their homes, they already doing develop them higher.
Yes.
And what they do, they can get a lot, half this size, and they can put 6 or 7 houses on that lot because of the way they build them.
Yes.
So we are kind of late on that.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
they want to go
this
even
has
bigger,
been-
right?
This has been going on.
Yes,
Look
yes.
down homes.
Yep.
Because there's a vacant lot on my street.
Yes.
And they plan to put about 5 homes on that lot,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So
So here,
if we're
that-
gonna stop it, we need to stop it, you know, like soon.
Yes. And that's where your council member and your ANC, that you really start have to reach out and get in touch with them and say, look, we have to set a vision together. Because if this is just gonna be ad hocery, then it makes a mockery of the community. It's like, well, anything goes, anything can happen.
But I cannot understand it because I'm in the historical area, and why they allow them to do that? Because when I moved here, I had to get permission to put windows in my house. So why are other people allowed to build houses? They should be built like the ones like we in.
A lot of the regs, including historic, have been watered down over the years, right? Just to let this stuff slide through. It's an interesting shift, right? The 90s, early 2000s, the planning officials were like, we just gotta get some development going, right? Tear down the old convention center, put up city center, tear down Verizon, put the Verizon center. All these things around to kind of get the economy going. We're now #1 in the nation, real estate. So we don't need to have sliding regulations. We need to have more oversight now, more than ever, because it's completely a gold mine. It's a gold rush on the air rights and the real estate. And so the people who rent are the most vulnerable, people elderly, most vulnerable, people with disabilities, most vulnerable. The city is not protecting them.
See,
And through the plan, we got to do that.
before it's all over with, we won't have to go to New York, because DC is gonna look like New York.
Well, we got to fight.
But
We
they're
got to fight
already
for it.
building places, making them look like New York.
Right. Okay, one last question on the map. Did you have a question on the map?
It'll be quick.
Okay.
The current map does not discuss how zoning, the history of zoning and redlining. I think I brought that question up last time. Low density ordinances have often been used to enforce segregation, residential segregation, if there's a history there. And I just wonder, like, how do you tell the story that, like, as conditions change, the thing that remains the same though is the discrimination, as far as how people, who's getting displaced or who's allowed to stay, or what pricing and various investments in real estate do to certain people, and yeah.
So this is a lot to untangle. This is just my personal opinion. redlining is different than zoning.
Right.
Redlining is, right, banks saying in single-family homes.
Banks
I- Well, zoning is a neutral term. I look at zoning personally.
Right.
I look at zoning as a neutral term. It's like a computer. If you put garbage in, you're gonna get garbage out, okay? The code, the zoning code, like a program, is gonna program your neighborhood. Whoever's actually putting the parameters in, so if it's a bunch of white racists, you're gonna get a white racist community. So, modern zoning, same way. We're hearing Ward 3 be scapegoated for their single-family housing in their segregated community. But meanwhile, Union Market, with its 6,000 new units in modern zoning, it's going to be, because of the income gap between black and white folks, it's going to be a largely white, exclusive, segregated, brand-new community that only white professionals, single professionals are going to be able to really afford.
Yeah.
Right? So the question is, how can we use zoning to actually eliminate that stuff? Now, personally, if you look at the single-family zones around the city, and that's all the yellow here, right? The vast majority of it is east of the river. There's some here, there's some in Ward 3 and Ward 4, but 5, 7, and 8 has a lot of it. Now, if you say, hey, no more single-family zoning, that's got to go, and you can build duplexes and apartments there now because we have to build all this new housing for all these people that might be coming in. Do you think Ward 3 is going to get blown up, or do you think Ward 8 is going to get blown up?
Right. And to your point, I do think they're different terms, right? So Ward 8 is going to get blown up because there has been a history of not allowing folks to secure the neighborhood sovereignty,
Right.
to use the same laws are used in Ward
Right.
3 to wall out people.
Yep.
Hello. That's, so I don't think, so basically I don't think you can fight redlining with zoning. You have to de-redline, like you
Yes.
have to integrate. And
Yep.
so that policy has to take this information and actually overlay history narratives that say these things seem value neutral but are not because people with different power can use power differently.
That's
What's the
right.
equity issue?
The equity, that's the thing. So the equity issue, and it's playing out at the wharf, it's playing out Navy Yard, it's playing out at Union Market. These are brand new gigantic box buildings. You know, where 4-story buildings could be built, now they're building 12-story buildings. So 8 stories of land value given away to some mega real estate corporation. Who are they gonna fill it with? Well, look at the boards of these corporations.
And the size of the units.
And the size of the units. They're studios or one bedrooms. Like I said, with Union Market, I think total out of the 6,000 total units, it's about 200 that are 3 bedrooms. Okay, so it's not for families. And it's not for affordable. It's not affordable for any families, really, except for the 10. So they have used zoning to create a brand new segregated exclusive community. So that's what I'm saying. Zoning can be neutral. We have used zoning to fight back at Barry Farms, to say these people get to come back. You know, they shouldn't have been displaced in the first place. We use zoning at Brooklyn Manor to say you have failed the zoning code because you're displacing all these folks and you're not rebuilding 5 and 6 bedroom units. You're only building 2 and 3 bedrooms.
Right, but
So it's a neutral, that's what I'm saying, it's
substandard
neutral.
housing.
Say
That's
what?
But
A development like Berry Farms was still substandard housing, even though it's historically black, it still needs investment. And to some degree, even segregated black communities could benefit from some level of integration, maybe not of zoning from developers, but how do you, I just feel like there's sort of very conservative organizing principle that's like use the rules to stop the herd right now, which is totally understandable, but how do you move past that? Like, how do you have a bigger conversation about, like,
Yes.
the rules are set up to maintain certain status quos anyway.
I think that's what this document is kind of getting to. Because what I wanted to present was some more visionary stuff, that hopefully from these more broader policies, we can get rules that are truly equitable. That it doesn't matter who's in power, that if applied, it is an equitable development. So for example, income and family housing equity in all projects. So right now, 80 to 90% of all the new projects are luxury studios for single professionals. Why don't we have a policy and rules in place that say 1/3, 1/3, 1/3? 1/3 of them are low income, absolutely low income units for families. 1/3, 2 bedrooms, middle income. 1/3 studios. Something that actually gets us to an equitable outcome.
Or tie it to demand.
Yeah,
That
well,
the demand
they're
is much
claiming the
higher.
demand is here for single professionals.
But we have data that that's not true.
I mean, the demand is always going to change, right? So if we don't have the structures in place, like we don't actually have buildings for families to move into, no families can move into the ward. No families can move into Union Market ever. They'll never be able to move there unless they bash down some walls and unite some of the studios. I don't see that happening. So if we don't get those families units built now while they're building all this stuff, we'll never have family units. This is the sort of thing what I wanted to go. How about prioritizing the people of DC? Instead of the city funding luxury apartments, condos, hotels, and stadiums, right? The $300 million that just went to the soccer stadium, or the $1 billion that went to the baseball stadium, or the $50 million that went to the Verizon Center. How about we just not do that, and we take that money and we build family-sized units? We fix Barry Farms. You know what I'm saying? Like, no money should be going to wealthy playthings until everybody in this city who needs housing, including the chronically homeless, are housed. These are sort of the policies we got to get to set some real rules that prevent them from continuing the status quo. I was suggesting that all longtime small businesses, family residents vulnerable to displacement and at risk of displacement because of rising housing costs are protected. We can have real purposeful mitigation programs. Refinancing, public financing to stop people from being displaced. And the last thing was I wanted to, and Jillian's going to talk about public housing, but the equity in public institution and equal access to social services. This says that any group takes the position that no ward shall have significantly more institutional access to social services than any other. There shouldn't be the case that there's a food desert east of the river, or that they're lacking medical facilities east of the river. There is no excuse for that. How can we give $300 million to a soccer stadium and not have funded a medical facility east of the river?
Or
Right?
school lotteries
So they're-
and charter schools.
Yeah, the charter schools and all that. So these are the sort of things that you want, and again, I just put this out there as general, this is open source. But these are the sort of things that we want to raise up using our principles as a coalition. The coalition has those principles. I base these off of those principles. They're just ideas, but we have to get to broader policies, because when we get down into the weeds of 1,500 pages that most people won't read, we're not going to really win anything. But if we start setting broader vision and getting that to our ANCs and getting that to our council members, then hopefully other things will follow. These detailed rules that will keep things equitable or build things out equitably. So I want to pass it back to Jillian to close it out with the 2 points about public housing and the displacement stuff in the comp plan, and then we'll roll out.
Julian, there's a roundtable on public housing the 31st of this month.
Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna sit down because my feet hurt. Okay. So, we did have, I put these sheets at the front of the table. I'm not sure if we had enough copies, so if you did not get a copy of it, please make sure that you sign in and I can send them out. So this particular document that says at-risk public housing in the comp plan, the properties listed are the 14 properties slated for removal from the public housing stock in DC. I included their area elements, the number of bedroom units, and which ANC and SMD they're in. because we didn't have these folks here today. So we definitely want to make sure that, one, we keep public housing around, because with these 14 properties, that's over 2,600 units that are going to be lost from the stop. Public housing is the last stop for folks before homelessness. So we absolutely need to make sure that we protect these things. So also within this document, I included every single policy and action around public housing, between the area elements and also the housing element itself. If you look and see that there are 2 properties highlighted in yellow on the document, those are the only 2 properties that are actually mentioned by name in these area elements, and that's a problem. And they're only mentioned in names because they're a part of the New Communities Initiative. So not necessarily preserving the communities that are there, but creating something completely different that is no longer public housing, because it will be a mixed income development. And for those who are not aware of how mixed income developments work, they tend to not last very long, where folks they feel pressured and marginalized enough that they eventually move out, and they're also given different rules. And we want to make sure that that does not happen. Public housing communities are absolutely vital, and it's about time that we stop devaluing these communities. So I do have all of these priorities outlined, the policies, the actions. So if you feel so moved and you feel inclined, please make sure that your ANC commissioner actually puts their foot down to make sure that we maintain these properties. I think at some point, DC had over 10,000 public housing units. I think we're down to about 6,000 or 8,000? 6,000? 8,000? Thank you. So we're down to 8,000. Oh.
The 8,000
Is it my test? Can you repeat what you said on the microphone, because that's vital information.
So the total housing stock of the 2006 plan is 8,000. So you can take away the 26 we're talking about now and subtract, you can just go to, let's say, Prairie Farms and just subtract whatever, I'm not the number, that is out of that. And that's our total projected and actually lost. So I don't know how many it was before 2006, but I know 2006 we had only 8,000 units. That was including Prairie Farms and all the new community properties. So minus that stock and the 2,600, we're actually down to about 8,000. And we're 4,000, 2,000.
Thank you. Also keep in mind that this list does not include Berry Farm, Park Morton, or Sursum Corda, or Temple Court. For those that have been around or have this knowledge or memory of it, Temple Court was demolished. It was actually about a block over from Sursum Corda, I think. And when it was removed from the public housing stock, it still has not been redeveloped. It's been over 10 years. And then there's also Brooklyn Manor. So there's so many reasons why we need to make sure that our ANCs are fully aware of what's happening and that they stand up for public housing. This other document I provided, I'm really sorry that the font is super small. My bad, y'all. But this is a copy of what OP wrote in the housing element on the displacement call-out box. The pink stuff on the side, those are my comments that I submitted to OP yesterday. So I wanted to make sure that y'all are fully aware of what I submitted. I also ran it by our public housing expert, so I don't know, it might be good. Also, further into the document, these are also policies and actions around displacements. I made sure to note that certain area elements do not have policies, actions, or even any language in the narrative around displacement, such as Far Northeast Southeast, Lower Anacostia Waterfront, Rock Creek East, and Rock Creek West. That's a problem. We need to make sure that this narrative is in the comp plan. It's not supposed to be a rewrite, but they basically rewrote it. So with Far Northeast Southeast in particular, and also Lower Anacostia, we definitely want to make sure that that language is absolutely included, because those are 2 areas where there is public housing that is slated for removal from the stock, whether it's RAD or Section 18. I did provide the definitions on the public housing page. Lincoln Heights, I believe, has a policy. Let me see. Sorry, I'm gonna flip through this real quick, yes. So Lincoln Heights has an action, action FNS, dash 2.3B. It's also included in here, but, yeah, so 14 properties, only 2 are mentioned with policies and actions. I think that's about all that I have right now. But if you have any questions about the comprehensive plan in particular, I am the point of contact from Empower DC. So my contact information is on both of these documents. I also officially have business cards now, so please feel free to take one. If you have comments or questions about how to get involved with public housing, that is our Director of Organizing, Daniel Del Pialago. So his contact information is also on here as well.
Can I tell people about the hearing on public housing?
Yes.
On December 31st, the Committee on Housing.
January.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's on.
January 31st, I beg your pardon, I get mixed up in my months. But anyway, the Committee on Housing and Neighborhood Development is going to have a roundtable on the transformation plan for the 14 properties that Jillian was talking about. That is going to be how the public can weigh in on what's going to happen to our public housing. It's at 11 o'clock. It's Anita Bond's committee. I think it would be good if people would testify and say we really need to do what we need to do to keep our public housing.
Probably at the Wilson Building.
Oh, at the Wilson Building, room 412.
It's a hearing on a plan that already exists?
No, there's a transformation. You know, there are 14 properties that are at risk. And the head of DCHA has developed this fancy transformation plan. And this hearing is going to be on the transformation plan.
Okay, so before they come downstairs to kick us out, if anyone else has any